Jones lines up in the slot to the right of Solomon. He is back to throw. He is rolling. Looking downfield. Has time to set up. Throws it long. Has a man. It's up for grabs. Caught in the end zone. Arizona has scored the touchdown. Austin Hill in the end zone. Wildcats win.
What do you remember about the 2014 season? If it's not much, let me help you refresh your memory a bit with a few words and names. The first college football playoff, Dak Prescott, a stacked SEC West, Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry, Amari Cooper, Marcus Mariota, and Jameis Winston. This season was one of my favorites as a kid. It really stuck out to me for a few reasons. I was 8 at the time, and hearing of a college football playoff really had me intrigued. So I did what any college football fan would do and watched as many games as possible that season. Let's go back in time and relive this bizarre season. I'll start by asking a question. What do you believe the number one team in the nation was during the first college football poll that came out in week 10 of the 2014 season? Unless you're a true ball knower, you'd be wrong. It was Dak Prescott and the Mississippi State Bulldogs. They continued to be number one for about 3 weeks until they ran into Big Bad Bama. It all started when the Bulldogs were unranked through 3 games, and 3 games later they were the number one team in all of college football. It was the fastest a team ever went from going unranked to the top of the nation in college football history. Now, how could this have happened? Well, they played 3 top 10 SEC teams in a row. They went and beat number 8 LSU in Death Valley, number 6 Texas A&M, and number 2 Auburn. After those 3 games, everyone was convinced at the time that they were truly the number one team in the nation. It was so bizarre to see Mississippi State as number 1 in the polls. We may never see it again in our lifetime. And not only that, their in-state rival, Ole Miss, was number 4 in the nation when the first college football poll came out in week 10, with wins against number 3 Alabama and number 4 Texas A&M. The state of Mississippi was on an all-time high in this moment. I couldn't imagine living in that state with all this happening. All the hopes and dreams in Mississippi came crashing down after Ole Miss lost to Tennessee in week 10 and Mississippi State in week 12 to Alabama. After this, both teams never seen the top 4 again in the college football playoff era. Let's move on to the Big 12 and the tragic season the conference had that season. To give a little bit of a history lesson, after the 2009 season, Nebraska and Colorado both announced they would move to different conferences. This impacted the conference massively, as the NCAA rules states you need at least 12 teams to have a conference championship. This would ultimately hurt the Big 12 in many ways, especially the 2014 season. Saturday, October 11th. 2 of the top Big 12 teams face off in a heated, high-scoring battle, with Baylor defeating TCU 61-58, but Baylor loses the next week to a very underrated West Virginia team that year. Nevertheless, both Big 12 teams, TCU and Baylor, would finish the season 11-1. This would have been a championship game that could have been in the history books, a game to never forget. But as we know, the Big 12 championship does not return until 2017. As the regular season ended, Baylor stands at number 7 in the polls, and TCU as the number 3 team in the polls. You would think TCU is comfortably in with 1 loss, although behind them number 4 Florida State is undefeated, but with number 5 Ohio State with also 1 loss. The worst that could happen to TCU would fall to number 4 maybe, but they would still be in the playoff, right? Wrong. You couldn't be further from the truth. Not having a Big 12 championship really hurt the conference, and this led everyone questioning how legit the committee system is and created a controversial first year for the 14 playoff. As Ohio State wins their conference championship against Wisconsin 59-0, the committee believes this is enough to jump the TCU Horned Frogs and earn a right in the playoff. With the whole college football community split on this decision, it really created the question about how the 14 playoff was supposed to be chosen, with one side arguing Ohio State shown they deserved to be in, with the other side saying TCU didn't show that they didn't belong in the top 4. It was a whole debate for weeks until the playoffs actually started. This could have been avoided if TCU and Baylor played each other one more time in a Big 12 championship. If TCU won, they would have most certainly stayed in the top 4 and been in the playoff. With a loss, it could have brought Baylor into the conversation to the 14 playoff. But that reality did not happen, with Ezekiel Elliott leading the Buckeyes to a 42-35 defeat of the Alabama Crimson Tide, with 230 rushing yards on the night. This stuck out to be one of the best college football playoff games in the playoff era. This eventually stopped arguments and disputes of if Ohio State should have made the playoff or not, and they sure squashed any more doubt with the national title game. With a dominant performance against Oregon, it was proven the committee was right in their decision and gave a better confidence in the committee going forward. Of the 4 teams ranked in the top 4 in week 10 of the season, 3 of them didn't make the playoff, with Florida State being the only one to stay. This season was full of upsets and games that I didn't cover. But even as scratching the surface as we did in this video of the 2014 season, you can see how bizarre it really was for everyone. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to tell me by liking and subscribing. I really appreciate all of you who do, and let me know your opinions down in the comments. I also have a Twitter, link is in description. You guys can find more college football content there, and also my DMs are open. Anyways, like always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.